The Town picked up a valuable 3 points with a 1-0 win at home to Hull City in atrocious conditions at Kenilworth Road on Saturday afternoon. Alongside me to reflect on a much more positive performance from the Town is the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, that was more like it.
Yeah, wasn't it? It's all the stuff that people were calling for in terms of fight and stuff. So very pleased with that.
And we're going to be very pleased to look back on that game and so much more that's happened over the last fortnight right after this intro.
For me, it's the people and the spirit of the people as well.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast, having scooped a bronze in the Best Football League podcast category at the Football Content Awards as recently as last Thursday. This season, we're in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I said before the intro, we're going to look back on Luton Town 1, Hull City 0, and alongside me, I've got the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe to do just that. Jimbo, before we do, I think it's only right that we reflect on the last couple of weeks because so much has happened. It's been quite lively, even since we did the last podcast, the preview for the whole game, but certainly going right the way back to the Middlesbrough game. We've had so many people get in contact with us, and obviously so much has happened. I mean, some fans out there think that we haven't been critical enough of the team in that time. Others, particularly those at the club, think we've been too critical of the team. There's a balance that we try and strike, and maybe sometimes we go too far one way and not far enough the other, but you know, we've won an award, so we're kind of doing something right, haven't we? But I think it's just fair to point out that the two of us here, it's just us two Luton fans, two Luton boys having a bit of banter, talking, chewing the fat and everything else. It's not the official view of the trust. If you want the official view of the trust, that's in its official communications, and it's only right that we really sort of put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an independent journalist, so you got me on this to give that sort of view, didn't you, 8 years ago, and hopefully I'm still giving it. So, it's just honest opinions.
That's it. Just a reminder of that. So, I mean, most people have pretty much worked that out for themselves, but those that didn't, there it is. There's a reminder. Football Content Awards, last Thursday night. We have to talk about it because, you know, James and I so proud to have scooped this award that you see in front of us. We had a great night, didn't we? Mixed in with some brilliant content creators, and I think we've both come away from it not only proud, not just of us two, but the team right behind the podcast, the guests, the trust, the board that's given its support to us, both financially and from a sort of encouragement point of view. There's so many people that have taken the podcast from where we started it at Venue 360, like we said in that video that we recorded, to where we are right now, our brand new studio that's ours, and everything in between. Just a massive achievement for, well, what is really a voluntary independent club podcast. I mean, the two podcasts that beat us are fantastic podcasts in their own right, but they're EFL centric ones, aren't they? In terms of sort of solo club podcasts, we were basically on top, and to get to that stage is just, it's kind of mind-blowing still, really.
It is, yeah. No, they're huge ones and really good ones as well. So Under the Cosh got the Gold Award, and they've you've probably seen, or Hatters fans have probably seen, Rowan Vine was on there once, really funny one.
I think Tony Thorpe's been on there as well.
I think Mick, even when Mick Harford was on there once, I think. So it's a cracking podcast, but a massive like 100,000 subscribers, and so sort of stuff you can dream of, isn't it? And show where you can get to. And the other one, not the top 20, massive podcast as well, focuses on the whole football league. I think they're on BBC Sound as well, aren't they? So that's a massive feather in the cap as well. So to come behind those two was pretty good, considering like it was 50% judges' views and 50% voting. So if you've got 122,000 subscribers, you're going to get a fair few votes, aren't you? So it's well played, those two podcasts.
Absolutely, yeah. But we do thank absolutely everyone who voted for us. We really do appreciate your support. It is for you guys that we do this podcast, and hopefully we can continue to do that a lot longer. I think we both come away from the night determined to make this podcast bigger and better, to make sure that we get back there again next year and keep the Supporters Trust firmly on the map, and our reputation and our profile increasing all the time.
Yeah, I mean, mainly I just enjoy it because I get to come to here, speak for football with my mate, and that's just the main thing. As long as you're doing that, then I think hopefully that comes across.
Absolutely, yep. So many great comments, so much great feedback. James had plenty of it on Saturday at the game. I did too. I met some people that I've not met before, some people that I have met before, and everyone was coming up and congratulating us on the award, as you've all done on the YouTube videos that we put out. And I mean, the Trust social media feeds, our own social media feeds, absolutely exploded on Thursday night. We couldn't possibly reply to all of you. We really, really wish we could, but we would still have been there when we go off to Leeds on Wednesday night, and none of us want that. So thank you for everyone who's got in touch and supported the podcast, whether you've only watched one episode or you've watched all 8 seasons. And if you've watched all 8 seasons, I'll allow you to go and get some mental help and recover from that. But basically, we are here for the football. That is the thing that matters the most. So let's get talking about some football, shall we, Jimbo?
Let's do it.
Before we talk about the game, though, I kind of want to reflect on what happened before the game. Obviously, when we recorded the preview, we wasn't absolutely sure that Rob was going to be the manager. I think we kind of assumed that he was going to be, else it would have happened earlier than that. But wasn't it great to see the real Rob at that pre-match press conference? The Rob with a smile on his face. We've not seen that for a while. And he alluded to the fact that he's fighting a few issues and things. And I'm kind of glad that he did, because, we're going into a time now of the year where, the nights are dark. We're in the middle of a horrible storm. It's a tough time. It's okay not to be okay. But it's also okay to tell people that, do you know what, I'm struggling a little bit. As men, we don't do that. And although it was a hard listen at times and a hard watch at times, because we care so deeply for Rob, we love him as our football manager, but we love him as the great bloke that he is as well. I just thought it was really refreshing that he was open and honest with us with that. And you could tell that there seemed to be some sort of weight lifted as well in those 2 weeks. And obviously after the game on Saturday, he walked around with so much more encouraging and happy demeanour. And it just felt like we got the Rob that we had a couple of years ago back. And obviously so much has gone on since then. It would impact on even the strongest individual. But to have that Rob back, whatever happens on the pitch, his health is of paramount importance, and I hope that that's never sacrificed as much as, it's a job and everything else. At the end of the day, there's life outside of football, which I'm glad he alluded to. You were actually in the press conference. It was a much more positive Rob.
It was, yeah. I remarked to him myself that coming to the realisation that he had to work through a few things. Obviously, he didn't go into that. It's too personal, and I wouldn't expect him to, but I just said to him that it just visibly looked like a weight had lifted off his shoulders, and he was smiling more and stuff like that. So, and certainly, like you mentioned, the lap of appreciation around the pitch and around the Kenilworth Road pitch on Saturday seemed to be very heartfelt and more open. I mean, he does it all the time anyway, whether win, lose or draw. But I think he looked like he really appreciated that, and and the smile came back. So, hopefully, I think it's a really big, important issue. We've done one before. Where, we did one with Lars Elstrup a season or two ago, where he opened up about all the things that he went through as a professional footballer. And I think it's only helpful with more people, perhaps in football, because it's so watched and so loved, come out and say these things. It's not a sign of weakness. Everybody needs a bit of help, or somebody to talk to, or someone to lean on. And, it's been really tough. 2024 has been really tough for Luton Town Football Club. And So yeah, it's good that if he's sort of working on that and getting some help, which I know is in place and stuff. So yeah, if there's anyone else out there that is feeling low at this time, particularly as Christmas coming up as well, doesn't it? That's a big trigger for these sorts of things. Then yeah, speak to someone. Speak to if it's not somebody you know or a family member or friends. There's organisations out there, aren't there, that you can speak to, and it really does help. So you have to say fair play to Rob for coming out and saying that, being very honest, and I hope that sort of changes people's minds somewhat. We'll see. At the end of the day, it's a hard one to sort of pair with the actual football, isn't it? Because you want to win. Everybody wants to win, and it's a brutal business, really. But yeah, hopefully, coming out and talking about these things will move the dial a bit, move the needle a bit on these things, and help people ultimately.
It's just a reminder that there's a human being behind the what goes on the football pitch, doesn't it? And Rob opened himself up to us, and in return he found out how much love we've got for him, and it was a beautiful thing, and long may it continue. And yeah, I referenced at the start of this podcast that Jimbo and I are here largely for banter and football and things, but we pride ourselves in taking events like that, issues like that, seriously, and we're not going to shirk away from them. We're not just going to talk about football. If there's if there's an issue like that, certainly one that is as serious as that, we'll talk about it, and we have no problem. And so yeah, well done, Rob, for coming out, and yeah, fantastic. And we hope that you continue to improve on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does help to have wins, because that's the job, that's your passion, and the fact that Luton won on Saturday. I mean, we'll get to it. It wasn't a pretty game, but the win was so relieving, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was indeed. Let's talk about the game then. Refreshed Rob. He made 4 changes to the side. I was only looking for one. I'm not going to lie to you. I made a perfect case for it in the preview, and there he was, marvellous Nakamba. There was a lot of talk about him in the pre-match press conference. There was always going to be. Lots of people had raised, not just us on this podcast, lots of people had raised the questions about Nakamba, and they were asked and they were answered, and we can kind of put that to bed now, because he looked really, really good. He played all 96 minutes, 97 minutes if you include the first half injury time. He was one of 4 changes. So Marvellous came back in the heart of the midfield, and do you know what? No one went straight through the middle of the pitch. Hey presto, fantastic. Carlton Morris came back in, Tom Krause, and Reece Burke was the other really, really good one to have on the team sheet. We hoped he would be fit. Not sure we had him at right wing back stroke right back in the team bingo, but we'll talk about how that worked in a minute. 4 that went out, Amari Bell, quite close to kickoff, I believe, actually when the players were at the ground, which might allude to the fact why the game was a bit of a struggle in the early stages. Liam Walsh went to the bench, Jacob Brown did, as did Corley Woodrow. Much changed team. Formation, it was a changed formation, but I'm not sure how much we can read into the formation, because Hull's formation, when you lay it out, we've got a Subbuteo pitch here as part of our props. If you put the pegs on the Subbuteo pitch, it would lay out in a 4-2-3-1, right? But at no stage really did they have 4 defenders in a line. The 2 holding midfielders would split so far. It was the first 20 minutes, it was like I was playing FIFA 98 on normal level, and I was up against an expert level team who were moving all here, there and everywhere, and no one could get a grip of 1 minute they're there, then the next they're there, and they're like, no one was standing still. Kind of took 20 minutes for us to work out what was what and who was where, and obviously our team change with the Amari Bell would have been, all the training would have been to have Amari Bell in whichever position he was going to be in. And so they didn't have enough time to work on that structurally on a training pitch. It was presumably it would literally have been like the dots on the board sort of thing. But when we did get to grips with them after sort of 15 or 20 minutes or so, we did match them up pretty well. We did contain them as much as we could do, certainly in the first half. I mean, they had that chance, didn't they, fairly early doors, where the 44 Kamara ran away from Reece Burke. You can see why there was lots of talk in the transfer window that we were after him. He looked a nippy little bugger. Got the ball across. João Pedro would have been waiting for a tap-in, although based on his finishing later in the game, I'm not convinced he'd have scored it. But Ted and Mengi said, nope, not happening, and put it wide. And that was pretty much it. And then we started to come into the game then. Our ball players got on the ball. Marv was just Marv. Shandon Baptiste showing some nice touches, even though he was a bit wider out on the right. Tahith Chong started to follow their number 2, who was, I assume, meant to be their right back, but he played everywhere but right back. But he kind of had a man marking mission, didn't he? Where he goes, you go, Chongi, and he performed it really, really well. The 2 wasn't really a factor in the game, but I kind of got the impression that he was an important player for them. So that was good. And the longer the half went on, chances came, generally from set plays. Conditions were foul, weren't they? Horrendous rain, beating wind. From an early stage, it looked like a game. Just win the game of football. Don't worry about looking pretty. Just win the game. First chance for us was from a Shandon Baptiste corner. Picked out Ted Mengi right in the centre of the box. Good header on it from Mengi, who had a really, really good game. Got to stress that, a really, really good game. Unfortunately, the header straight at the keeper. Either side of him off the slick surface, you'd have thought he would have scored, but just found the keeper.
Yeah, it was it was a really tough start to the game, I thought, and it was worrying because they were playing very pretty patterns around, and Luton couldn't get near the ball, and you thought this is going to be a very long afternoon here because they were causing all kinds of problems without actually having much cutting edge, if you know what I mean. Which I mean, if they had any cutting edge, a team that plays like that would be, up the top of the table. But thankfully they didn't, and that proved the case throughout the whole game. But they were getting to Luton's penalty box quite easily, and that was worrying.
They overload the top end of the pitch, don't they? I couldn't believe the amount of times they left the centre-back with Elijah all alone on the halfway line. And there were 2 or 3 times that we just hoofed the ball clear, that had the ball not got caught up in the wind and the rain and everything, Elijah might have had a clear run on goal, but because the wind was coming in our direction, it held the ball up enough for the centre-half to kind of get alongside Elijah and hold him up for long enough for someone to come back. But it was just like one, and then the 9 of us are off. It was. I've never seen anything like it before, and I think Rob alluded to it in his post-match press conference. He's never coached against a team like that, and I can certainly understand it. I mean, we didn't even come up against that level of craziness in the Premier League. I remember the first game at Brighton. I thought, Jesus, none of this lot stands still. What formation do they play? And this lot just, it was that on steroids, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Like I say, it was quite concerning because they were swarming all over the town, and you could put some of that down to the fact that they had the sort of last minute reshuffle, but then also, yeah, how do you play against that formation? We were talking about the formation that we wanted to see of Luton's, and there was a back 4 in the end, which I don't know how much of that is down to Amari Bell being out, but you'd have to imagine it did play a factor. If as a side note, matter of times we've said we haven't got any centre halves, and we've got a defence full of centre halves, all 4 of them,
and one on the bench.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a hard watch for that because they were doing that, and obviously that silenced the crowd. It was really quiet, really quiet, and I did sort of worry at that stage. Sort of did get to grips with him in the end. I mean, the goal obviously helped, didn't it? So that came totally against the run of play, really.
Did you not see it coming?
I didn't see it coming, mate. I mean, it was only the second corner or something?
That was the biggest smash and grab goal I've ever seen. But do you know what? I was delighted with it. Not just because it was a Luton goal. I'm pretty sure I referenced it in the preview podcast to the game. The one thing I'd love to have seen was Mark McGuinness to score. I said in front of the Kenilworth end, didn't I? And come and celebrate. And Ram knows quite strong words that I used after the Middlesbrough game firmly down my throat. And do you know what? Hands up, fair play, you did it. You're absolutely brilliant yesterday. Really, really good performance. And had that shot at the end that come off of him gone in, that would have been an absolute travesty because of the way that he defended. He was absolutely brilliant. And when you bear in mind what we said in the preview about how he's gone away with Ireland and had a great night, but not a great night, if you know what I mean, to have the character, which was the word that Rob used in his press conference, wasn't it? Character and fight, 2 things that we asked for. He epitomised that. Really, really good finish, because actually when you see the side angle of it, which obviously I don't in the Kenilworth end, the ball's behind him, isn't it? And he still manages to hook it with a really, really good purpose on the shot to get it into the corner. And Well, ka-ching for me, because I think I've also referenced it that he's my first scorer bet this season. So, and I've been kind of getting a bit annoyed at the amount of headers that he's had at 0-0 and not gone in. So delighted that one's fallen to his feet and he's put that in the bottom corner. But yeah, he rammed those comments down my throat, and I'm absolutely delighted that he did. And let's hope we see a lot more of that version of McGuinness in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Milky bars are on you then, are they?
And it is only a Milky Bar.
Yeah.
So it's just all it's done is recoup the money that I spent in Spurs' bar the other night, I think.
Yeah. Bloody hell, London prices for drinks, but hey, it was a one-off, wasn't it? Won an award.
We hope it's not a one-off, actually. We hope we can go back there again and maybe even upgrade this beautiful award that you see in front of us. But yeah, really, really good goal. Nice of the whole man to flick it on, actually, because he couldn't have flicked it on any better, really. Shandon Baptiste corners were kind of threatening, weren't they? Had that like driven in thing. I suspect some of it was because of the wind. So if he floated it, it could have gone here, there and everywhere. But really, really good. Every single time Baptiste was over a set piece, you kind of felt something was going to happen.
You did.
And that's not to say that I don't feel that when Alfie takes set pieces. I'm not one of these people who criticises Alfie's set pieces. Alfie's set pieces are really, really good. The chance creation from Alfie's set pieces is very, very strong. But he wasn't there, and he's not going to be there for 6 to 8 weeks or whatever it is that we've found out since then, certainly till the new year. But every time Baptiste was over one, you felt like we were all right. They didn't look the biggest side in the world, did they?
No. I liked Shandon's set pieces, but I liked them the last time he deputised for when Alfie was out. So
yeah, because Hashi nearly scored the winner against West Brom, didn't he?
That's right, yeah. Really
and that's the thing. Someone behind me, it made me laugh. Said, finally, we scored from a corner. I was like, mate, we scored from one last home game as well when Jacob Brown scored the winner against Cardiff from a corner. It's really not that much of a surprise now that we've scored from a corner. Our set-piece record is actually pretty good. You're not going to score from all of them, though.
No, you're not. But his delivery was very good, dangerous. So was Liam Walsh's, actually, when Walsh came on, and we'll get to him because I thought he was outstanding as a substitute cameo. Yeah.
How long can you play in a game and not, to be eligible for a Man of the Match award? Because he must have been close. I've no problem with them giving it to McGuinness. I've not. Personally, it was Mengi for me. But, certainly his performance was what we would take. Let's come on to that in a minute anyway, because the first half finished with another sort of crazy moment, didn't it? The one time that the number 2 actually played in the right back position and got forward, he put a crossover. I don't know why did you start with someone called João Pedro? The whole world knows someone called João Pedro is not going to score at Kenilworth Road. Seen that over time. And he didn't. He missed an absolute gilt-edged chance, probably 6 yards out, right in front of goal. He's got the other side of Tom Holmes, and thankfully his cushioned header has gone wide of the post because Kaminski can't. He's got no chance if that's on the target.
Yeah, and this is kind of the other side of it, where be happy with the result. Actually, that was the main thing. The result was the main thing. Get things back on track. We thought might have to play ugly. No problem with that. I mean, when you look at it and assess it for future games coming up, you give those 3 chances to other teams, and you've probably lost that game. They didn't bring their shooting boots, and that's good. But as good as the heart and the fight were there, that there were still some mistakes that allowed them in, and that's a concern going forward. We'll get to that in the preview podcast for the other ones, like the ones coming up. But
we will. But sometimes if you've got a bit of heart and a bit of character and a bit of grittiness about you, sometimes you make your own luck, don't you? And sometimes the footballing gods look down and you think, do you know what, you deserve a little bit of luck today, and we had it. But then you turn that around. We didn't have it against Sunderland when we were the better team. We didn't have it against QPR when we were the better team. We lost both of those games. So maybe we're just on our way to evening itself out.
Yeah, hopefully, if those sorts of things that are really unquantifiable can change, because it does feel like we've been on a really bad run of luck for quite some time, where I think we've even referenced it in this podcast, everything that can go wrong was going wrong.
Well, I mean, if we had a balmy manager, we'd be being accused of having a haunted training ground, wouldn't we?
Did you see that?
I did see it.
Anyone who didn't see it,
mad as a box of frogs, that bloke.
Ian Holloway's last presser, he's a manager of Swindon now, and he's claimed that they've got a haunted training ground. and that his wife's going to come down and fix it with sage. It's an absolutely bonkers interview, but funny as hell.
It is, yeah. I mean, the things that people, the lengths that people will go to not to blame themselves is quite strong. Second half, thought we started it really, really well for the first 5 or 10 minutes. I thought, cool, there's a second goal in the offing here. Should have had it with the cross from Tom Holmes, which was absolutely beautiful for Eli. I'm assuming that the wind and the rain was coming in that direction because Pedro's missed his header by misjudging the ball from that very same position, and Eli did the same thing. It was more a heady, shouldery thing that went wide, but you only had to look at his reaction to know that he knows that he should have done better with it.
It was a big chance, yeah, and we didn't have many in the entire game.
I think that was it.
It was it was the goal, Mengi header, that one, and that was pretty much all she wrote about attacking options. Holmes, though, fair play to him. A couple of good crosses, one with a left peg as well. So there's some options there.
And what I really liked, in light of my comments after the Middlesbrough game, was when Kamara turned him inside out in the penalty box midway through the second half, threw himself in front of that cross. It was not coming in. And that was brilliant. In fact, they all did it right at the end. They're all throwing themselves in front of the ball. And guess what? It didn't go in the back of our net. And that's great. But yeah, we like Holmes.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, proper defender, but you can play a bit as well. Actually, to be fair, I thought he'd, start of the season, you imagined he was well down the pecking order, and now I think he's probably, if he's fit, he's got a good shout at being in the side, really, because he's, Also, he's a bit. There's some dark arts in him as well, because he grabbed hold of a fella that was going to get loose. Got penalised for it, obviously, but how many times have we been calling for that? A little bit of nastiness. I know the purists say you don't want to, but
listen,
we weren't doing it at all, whereas other teams were. So.
And when you've just been absolutely 5-1, you do it. Hopefully, you'll do anything that you can to make sure that when you've got something to hold on to, I'm not talking player, I'm talking a lead, but that you do it, and we did. We did everything. You kind of thought Pedro couldn't have missed an easier chance than he did in the first half, but he went and grabbed a pint of beer and held on to it because he got an even easier one in the second half. Ball that got curled right across the front of the 6-yard box. Kaminsky came and stopped, and that was nearly fatal, but thankfully Pedro hit the post because Kaminsky's got so close to him that he wouldn't have been able to have saved it. He would have had no reaction time whatsoever. But when that happened, I have to be honest, I thought, Christ, this is going to be our day here. And they've missed 2 absolute sitters that no team has missed for the last 15 months.
Yeah, that's the thing. When there's been a time to be punished, it's every single time getting punished. And that could be short range, long range, some mistakes, decisions not going for you. So, yeah, I sort of didn't want to come to that conclusion in my head just in case I jinxed it at the time, such as the luck situation at the moment. But when you look back at it with hindsight, it certainly felt like there was somebody. I mean, there was nothing shining down from the skies; it was just pouring down. But something was going right. Absolutely,
it was. Yeah, I thought we was going to get that McGuinness moment in the second half. Absolute cracking finish. Just absolutely wellied it in from about 6 yards out. Unfortunately, linesman's got flag happy and he's sort of ruled it out because the ball had gone out of play. But you attributed to it earlier. Liam Walsh's delivery was very good as well. And that was a peach of a delivery. And if it had just stayed in 2-0, we're happy days then, I think, because, they were struggling to look like they had many ideas left at 1-0, at 2-0, they'd have just kind of gone under a bit, you kind of sensed, because the goals seemed to hurt them, didn't it? Like goals have been hurting us in the past. And so I think a second one really would have been a nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I think it probably just shows how fragile confidence is when you're sort of down the bottom of the league. It was for Hull because they were bang on, they were on top and they were playing really well without really the cutting edge. Then Luton go and get the goal against the run of play, sort of made them drop a bit, which is good because we've seen that all too often in an orange shirt. So I think that when the shoe's on the other foot, hopefully it's a springboard to better things. Really, yeah. I mean, you've got to try and hope that is the case, haven't you?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's really unlucky that it wasn't a London bus job for McGuinness and 2 in the same game, having not scored all season until then. I mean, to be fair to Hull, it wasn't just Pedro that missed chances. They brought a geezer off the bench who missed one as injury time approached. Another cross. Guy gets past Mengi at the front post. Again, I'm not sure, certainly from the Kenilworth end, I'm not sure how he missed, but he did miss, thankfully. And then, well, very rarely did Luton win a game and Thomas Kaminski not contribute to the winning of that game. And in injury time, he sure as hell did, didn't he? Casey Palmer, he of the Coventry fame, who'd been a bit of a pain in the backside the last time we were in the Championship. He came off the bench, cut inside, hit a shot from 20-ish yards that Kaminski was probably going to have, catch that in his breadbasket, no problem. McGuinness has got himself in front of it, absolutely no problem with that. That's what I've been calling for God knows how long. It's flicked off of him and you're like, oh no. Having been calling for it for so long, when he's got himself in front of it, it's going to end up in the bottom corner. Thankfully, Kaminski's got enough time to react and throw a leg up, and it's got over the crossbar. I'm not sure how it has, but I'm mighty relieved it did. What a save that was. What a save.
Incredible reaction save, yeah, because he's committed to the dive, isn't he? And he's gone for it. Yeah, he probably would have got it. Did you say the breadbasket?
Well,
that's reminded me of WWF from the 90s.
Do you know what? When we got in the other night, someone had left the ITV4 on their on the telly, and they had some wrestling thing on as I put the telly on, and that's what reminded me of it.
I thought the breadbasket was a euphemism for getting kicked in the jump.
Well, that's where he was going to catch it, wasn't it? That low down. It wasn't a particularly high shot.
Yeah, but it was a fantastic save, and yeah, very, very much needed. I would have been in the crawl list really, because it was deflected shot ultimately, wasn't it? I mean, we've had some fortune getting a bit of a glance off a Hull head for the goal, but I think it was quite comfortable for Luton at that stage. Although Palmer did come on and cause a few problems. He had a bit of pace and he was a bit lively. But otherwise, I felt quite comfortable until the board went up for the added minutes.
Where did they come from?
And then it was just like nail biting stuff. But I've Liam Walsh came on at 56 minutes for Baptiste, and hopefully he's not crocked again. But I think afterwards, Edwards suggested that him and Reese were just sort of precautionary, or they may have caught whatever it was early. Maybe I think it was cramp for Kraus and maybe Baptiste as well. So hopefully no lasting damage. But when Walsh came on, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. That's his best showing in a Hatters shirt. He was in a game where there was not a lot of foot on the ball and not a lot of accurate passing from a Luton perspective anyway, that Hull did pass the football very well. He really shone in that regard, and playing little patterns, little balls around the corner, pinged a couple of long ranges. It was all lovely stuff, and exactly what we thought we might get from Liam Walsh, added into the fact that he went in for a really, really strong tackle, fair one this time. So he got that in his game, and hopefully he keeps them fair, because you need to stay on the pitch. But you mentioned, can a player that's only been on since the 56th minute win the Man of the Match award? And I was loving what he was doing. Mengi put in some great blocks.
Because there was another one that we've not covered in the second half, wasn't there, where they broke clear. Kamara broke clear, didn't they? And Marv kind of went that way, but he still got the cross in, and thankfully Mengi slid in just before there. I mean, again, I'd say a tap in, but I think it was Pedro behind him, and I wouldn't trust that bloke to score if the ball was in the back of the net, based on the way he was finishing in that game. But yeah, I mean, Mengi was. There's a conception out there a perception out there that he's not as comfortable on that left-hand side of the three. And actually, I was a little bit surprised that he was on the left and Holmes was on the right, because Holmes has generally played that left side when Bell's not been there quite well. And also with Mengi being on the right, he might have been able to have dealt with Kamara a little bit better than what we were dealing with him. But either way, he silenced all of that, because in that left channel, he was really good. Every time the ball was in the box, he was generally on the end of it. And that's why he was my man of the match.
I mean, I personally would give Mengi man of the match, because it was that type of game. It was a game for defenders, throwing your body on the line, making sure nothing gets past you. And yeah, he played the whole game like that. But Walsh came on and just gave a completely different
And Hashi, actually. Hashi deserves some words as well, doesn't he? Because
Yeah.
he offered himself a lot down that right-hand side and put a
He
couple
did.
of lovely crosses in. One of them, Morris was waiting to head in, but the goalkeeper, with his fingertips, just managed to bring the ball in. And another one just cleared Chong's head at the back post. I think he might have been missighted by a defender that was in front of him. But the crossing's getting much better from Hashi now as well, isn't it? And of course, he's buoyed by 2 wins for Japan, 2 really good wins. They've gone closer to World Cup qualifying. Be fantastic to see him in USA in 2 years' time. Yeah, it's looking rosy there with that down that side.
Yeah, and we picked out Hashioka. The last couple of games that he's played have been really quite positive, and the one on Saturday against Hull, he was doing all the same things that we praised then, and he was also, his confidence must be up because he was taking players on to get to the byline and to get crosses on, which was lovely to see. And a couple, I think the first one he overhit, and then that was his marker, and he got a couple better subsequent ones. So, he looked really good actually, and I think from we didn't get the full picture of him last season because he was playing in the wrong position. His first game he got spun around by Haaland, and everybody does, apart from yesterday.
Apart from Tottenham, yeah.
It's Spurs.
Stay humble, Erling.
And it's just, that's a really difficult start to life in not only a new club, a new country, but I think he's sort of starting to really settle into what we can really expect of him now. So that's really positive.
Yep. Nearly a second deep into injury time. I meant to flag this up in the preview, and I'm really annoyed that I didn't, because I've not seen Hull too often. I said that in the preview, but when I have, they are so attacking of their corners. They leave nobody back. The furthest person back's about 30 yards from goal. Sunderland, when they scored the winner against Hull, literally gave it to the fast winger who scored their winner at our place. Rundle, was it? And he went the length of the pitch and scored. And Sheffield United scored a goal from a Hull corner from a counter-attack as well. And we nearly did the same thing because the ball broke on the edge of the box to Chong. I was getting memories of Liverpool at home last season, although obviously Chong scored that one. It was like charge. He went past 2 players, kept on going. I'm like, is he going to shoot? Is he going to shoot? He wanted to play Brown in, didn't he? I don't think it was ever on, and I'd like to have seen him shoot, but fair play to him. He tried to play Brown in. I mean, to be fair, he's probably f***ing knackered at that point, wasn't he? Having done 95 minutes chasing that number 2 all around the pitch. Had he got through to Brown would have scored. It would have been 2-0, happy days. But the main thing was just that run just killed another minute of that 6 minutes, because the 30 seconds of the run, and, by the time the defence and the goalkeeper had sorted themselves out, it took them another 30 seconds to get anywhere near our half again. So when you're under a bit of pressure, just carrying the ball down there can sure as hell, because that 6 minutes was going bloody slow, Jimbo. The clock was going backwards, I swear it was. But that was a really nice sort of pressure relieving moment.
Yeah, and there was a couple of others, like getting it down towards the corner flag and keeping it there. And that's sort of what you want the team to do. It'd be lovely if you can score and add a new goal, an extra goal, sorry. But really, you just want to keep it as far as away from your goal as possible, because it felt like, like you say, it felt like an age, and it was quite nail biting in that stage. From 60 minutes to 90, I felt quite okay, even though they had a couple of chances.
They're going to, though, aren't they? Yeah. We're low in confidence. When you get a lead like that, your natural instinct when you're low in confidence and you've not won many games is to protect it and sit deeper and deeper and deeper and protect it. Even if everyone wants them not to, they're human beings. That's the natural instinct. We're going to protect what we've got, sort of thing. But this was Luton of 2 years ago. How many times did we do this 2 years ago when we got promoted under Rob? We'd get a goal, we'd go and protect it. Teams are going to have shots against us. Every team in every game has shots against the opposition, whether it's us against them or them against us. To limit them to 3 decent chances in those conditions over a 90-minute game where they had circa 70% of the ball, just because of the way that they play it. I think it
was 77 at one point.
Yeah,
in the first
madness.
half. Yeah.
They were so. I've not seen a championship team as comfortable on the ball as that for a long, long time. But it just reminded me of the promotion-winning team. The heart, the fight, the spirit, the character, the will to win. We are at all costs, we are going to win this game. And I think Rob referenced it again after the game. And and it was just great to see. You mentioned in the preview, or you and Dan both mentioned in the preview about Cody Drame's radar when it comes to shooting, and thankfully it hasn't improved.
Yeah, he saw stars in his eyes at the end, didn't there? And yeah, I was right behind that ball, and it was never going anywhere near it. So it was a relieving one, that. And do you know what's something? Because he was playing down in the second half. He's playing right in front of where I was sat, and I don't remember him being as tall as he.
I said exactly the same thing.
He looks like he's grown up something.
I said exactly the same thing. He's had his spinach, hasn't he? I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, no, so good to see him though, because as we referenced in that preview podcast, you know, that Premier League season doesn't happen if he doesn't come in and perform as admirably as he did at right back. So yeah, huge kudos to him. It was just a good, not a great watch, not a great game to watch. It's not one of those that when we do the season review podcast that's going to get longer than 30 seconds in the memory bank, but it's an important win. The other thing, is Tom Krause, he gets it, and even when he's going off injured, he's getting the crowd going and geeing him up, and he had another great game. He's I said in the preview podcast that Marvellous is the most important player in this team for me, and how good is it just to see him back? Marvellous is at his best when you don't notice Marvellous is there, because he's not there to look good. He's there to just do the ineffective, horrible things.
I like
and my favourite
every time
thing,
he gets the ball. Shoot.
he's been here 2 years.
Never
Man's
gonna
not
shoot.
here to shoot.
The man's looking sideways.
Absolutely not interested in shooting, but I love the fact that he still gets wheeled on to shoot. But Krause is getting close to him in terms of importance, because his touch on the ball, when we needed someone to just put their foot on it and just calm it all down and give ourselves a little bit of a spell of possession, particularly in that first half when we were chasing shadows for a lot of it, he was able to do it. He's got a fine passing range. He can put his foot in. He's the complete midfielder, really. And we had another complete midfielder sat in the stands watching in Lamine Fanner, I think it is actually, or that's how the PA guy pronounced it. He looks a unit as well, let me tell you. That midfield area is starting to look stronger, but I'm still not bothered what the midfield looks like as long as it's got Marvellous in it.
Well, exactly. And the main thing is now he's played 3 games, 90 minutes in a week.
I mean, we shouldn't expect him to play Leeds and Norwich. I think 5 90 minutes in 2 weeks, that's asking a lot for a geezer who's been out for 9 months or whatever it was with a knee injury. But we now know he can play the 90 minutes. And hey presto, we've won again, and we've kept a clean sheet. Stats that I referenced in the preview podcast, I think you actually mentioned them at the press conference. They're there for all to see now. 5 starts from Marvellous, 5 goals conceded in those 5 games. Obviously, 11 games he hasn't started, 21 conceded. It's not a coincidence.
No, he's a massive player. And yeah, I asked about it in the preview podcast, and Rob said, well, the main thing I asked was he saying that in the previous weeks since he's been back, he wasn't up to speed? And he just said, yeah, pretty much wasn't up to speed. And they're having to manage him because he wasn't able to train all the time, if at all. And it just shows you when you can get him fit and get him back up to speed, which is what happened here. And I'm led to believe he played really well for Zimbabwe as well in the week. How important he is, because those stats don't lie; they speak for themselves, and it's so much more protection. You feel like he's there and he's going to snuff things out at source before it gets there. I mean, all the chances came from whipped in balls, really, isn't they? There's nothing he can do about that. But yeah, it is good to see him back, and I kind of don't think that we'll see him, maybe not from the start at least, at Leeds, and that would be understandable, particularly as we said, in the preview one, if you're going to put all your eggs in one basket, it would be trying to get 3 points against Hull. The other 2 are very difficult, not to say you're not going to try, obviously, but if you can't,
they're bonus games, aren't they?
Yeah, if you can't make that game, then that's fair enough. But we now know they can play 3 games in a week, maybe a bit of a rest, and then he comes back again. It's just so useful to just have him as an option now and be up to speed. I think he was slightly off it, and that's what essentially Rob's alluded to, isn't he? He was slightly off it, but you could see that with the eye test that it wasn't quite there, and that's understandable. He'd been out for 9 months, and he was a 30-year-old. So, but now it does look like marvellous of old, and
Luton of old.
well, yeah, absolutely. If they can maintain that heart and desire and fight, it's not that they won't lose. We understand that that's sport, but you can accept it more, can't you? There's always the phrase, there's a way to lose, and it is putting a shift in, and sometimes you will win, sometimes you won't. But to have that sort of baseline level of, desire is what you guys in the stands respond to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, I'll go back to the preview podcast. I said right at the end, this doesn't have to look pretty. We just want some fight and win the game. So we wanted on Saturday, and that's what we got. And there are a few negative comments out there, aren't there, that it wasn't great and this, that, and the other. I mean, look up.
But it wasn't. It wasn't. So you have to say,
yeah, you're right.
Wasn't.
You're right. But look above. I mean, if you're really expecting a great game in those conditions, I mean, come on now.
Two teams down the bottom. Hull hadn't won for 7 games when they turned up at Kenilworth Road. It's now 8, and Luton had that very chastening defeat at Middlesbrough and 2 weeks of speculation about what's going to happen. So I didn't expect it would be a great game of football. I mean, they played quite nice football in the first half. It just they won't go anywhere, thankfully.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, if you put a striker on that side, that's top 3, not bottom 3.
Absolutely, yeah. But I think you can still have this opinion and say it wasn't a great game of football, because it wasn't a great.
No, it wasn't. You're right. But enjoy the fact that we've won, because we have won. And I'll go back to what I said after the Cardiff game. This league's it's a bastard of a league. It's a horrible league. It's a grind of a league. 46 games in exactly the same time frame that the Premier League play 38. So 8 extra games in no different time frame, because the international breaks count for both the month. Okay, 1 extra week, isn't it? Start of the season, and maybe 1 week at the end of the season. But if you're in the playoffs, that's cancelled out. There aren't many great games in this league. There are a lot of teams. There's maybe Leeds. There's maybe Burnley, although speaking to the Burnley podcast guys from the other night, they're not overly keen on where they are this season.
Shout out to Turfcast. Good chat.
Absolutely, yeah. And well done on your silver award in the other category, guys. They're not enamoured with life, but, they won 1-0 yesterday. There were only 4 teams that won in the Championship this weekend. Okay, 1 game was postponed because of the weather up at Blackburn. So that's 7 games ended all square. That is the Championship. So many teams cancel each other out. There's so many teams that are much of a muchness that if they're 1% better than the opposition on the day, they'll grind something out. And if they're not, it'll be a stalemate. We've gained on all bar 3 teams this weekend, and we were the only team in the bottom half of the table to win the game. We've gone from 21st to 16th. In fact, we were actually 22nd when we kicked off, weren't we? Because one of the teams that were in the bottom 3 had escaped in the earlier games. It might even have been Plymouth, and what a way for them to escape the bottom 3 with Andre Gray scoring in the 96th minute.
Cheers, Agent Gray.
I did enjoy that, and he celebrated. I enjoyed that as well. It's a good weekend. It is a good weekend. It's not the greatest watch. We're not going to look back on Hull City, on Luton Town 1, Hull City 0, and wax lyrical about it at the end of the season. There are going to be better games of football, but when they're drab in horrible conditions like that, just take the win and move on, because that was the background and the backdrop for our promotion success 2 seasons ago. And if we're going to get anywhere in this division, we have to bank a few more of those and then enjoy the sprinkles on top when the nice games like the Watford game comes around.
Yeah, I mean, my take on the view that it was not a very nice game to watch and stuff, obviously that's true. I'm kind of thinking maybe they're looking, and correct me if I'm wrong out there, but the people are saying that are also half looking at that through the lens of, well, if you play like that against Leeds, that's not going to be pretty. And yeah, if you give those 3 chances away against Leeds, you'd have to fancy that Leeds might take 1, 2, maybe even 3 of them, and then that's going to be that's not going to be a good night. So, and I take that. I think that's valid to be a little bit concerned about the first half of the first half, which was you couldn't get near them. Like I said, 77% possession Hull had as an away team at one stage in that first half. And you
Which
couldn't
is
get near them.
fine, but on the balance of that, Kaminsky hasn't saved a shot in amongst all
and
of
that's
that.
the other thing. This is where you weigh it up, and there's the nuance of it. It wasn't a great game of football. They had a lot of the ball. Luton were chasing, and they conceded 3 very good chances, but not goals. So if you say, well, if you play against the better side, then you'll get punished, and yeah, you will. But you're playing against Hull at the point, and so you have to play Hull and get that game out of the way. And what's that saying? You can only play the team that's in front of you. But I think that it's a valid point that there's some concerns there still. It's not all wiped out because of a win, but in the situation that we were in and the 2 weeks that went before it, that's the only important thing right now. And then you get that win and try and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to enjoy the win. I wouldn't want to be accused of not being supportive when we win the game. So yeah, I'm enjoying the win. Look, I'll worry about Leeds when I'm driving up to Ellen Road on Wednesday night. You know, that's for Rob and everyone else to sort out. And you're right. If we do perform like that, we probably will lose at Leeds. And do you know what? If we play well on Wednesday night, we'll probably lose to Leeds because there's every chance that they're going to stroll this division and they're a good side. But yeah, never don't enjoy wins as bad as they are. You know, always be happy with the win, even if there's things that we can improve on. Look, no one's going to be perfect in the Championship. I mean, look at it.
In a way, I mean, when you've played that badly and won, there's sometimes, in some way, they're better.
Absolutely.
Because it wasn't a great showing. It wasn't a great performance. There wasn't a lot to write home about in terms of that. I mean, there were good performances and we've highlighted them, but none sort of above a 7 out of 10 for the whole team. Everyone on the park, it was all sort of quite attritional. There's nobody standing out, even though I've said, you know, Liam Walsh was fantastic. It was a half an hour and change cameo really, but the rest of the time it was just hard fought, dogged in horrible conditions.
It was a
and
muck
you get that, don't you?
It was a muck and nettles English football game, wasn't it? And you know, we fought harder than what they did, and we won the game. And happy days. Yeah, maybe I was being a bit harsh there. Actually, maybe fair play. You've got me there. You're right. Should we hear from Rob? We alluded to it at the start of the podcast. Much happier Rob, as we like to see. Here are the best bits of his press conference, which James went along to after the game.
Yeah, it was important. Always important though is I suppose the process of it all. I can't control the result, and I know I've said this loads of times. I can't control what was ultimately going to happen today. What was heartening for me was the way the lads stuck at it, showed some spirit, character, kept fighting to the end. In a really difficult game. So that's the most important thing. Seeing the fans at the end as well. It gave me a lot of heart, and so it was a good day. Hull are a really difficult, complex team to play against, and I admire a lot of what he does, Tim, with his team and how they play. It's not easy to come here, and if we get it right, the press, you know what I mean? It's difficult to play against that, but full credit to them for being as brave as they were and continuing to play. They make it really challenging. They really do. I've not come up against that kind of style before. Make you think and make you have to be almost perfect all the time positionally. And we weren't, and then we had to rely on a block or a save or whatever it might be. Yeah, it was a difficult day, and then we had the curveball of having to change the team not long before the game as well, and it's kind of like sums us up at the moment, and has done for quite a long time. But full credit to the lads that went out and played and went over that line. They were brilliant, subs included, because they made a good impact as well. The plan was, because of the way they build, looking at our out possession, the pressing first, we thought a back forward was the right way to go today. And then, because we prepped that way, and then we have to make a change before, we thought, all right, it's still the right thing to do, so let's try and keep that going. But then we had to shuffle a few people about. So credit to the lads again, because we hadn't practiced that necessarily yesterday. and then we didn't get loads of chances to be on the ball and get any kind of rhythm. I suppose conditions didn't allow us to too much either, but we wanted to then try and create the normal sort of shape that we would do when we got the ball, but Hull pressed pretty hard as well, and we struggled to sort of get too much of a rhythm. And then that's, again, like I said, understandable when we're sort of fighting at the moment. So yeah, few out of position and a few just digging in and doing what you have to do at the moment. It wasn't perfect in terms of the performance, know that. I don't think it had to be today. So some spirit, some desire to block and save, and then a couple of missed opportunities from them. You would say we need to be better in stopping crosses. But again, you got Chong, who's one of the most attacking players we've got. Then having to play almost as a fullback in the end, and thought he did a really, really good job in that. So look, in the end, it was digging in. It was digging in not most of the second half, I think, but the final stages of it certainly. It reminded me a little bit of some of the performances a couple of years ago when we got promoted. There's blocks there, saves, a 1-0 win. We had a lot of them. Look, it's a nice step forward for us at the moment. It was important, but it shows that no one's giving up. Everyone's with it. Everyone's fighting. You know, we've had a tough day a couple of weeks ago, but before that, we won the game before that. So 2 wins in 3. It's okay that way. I got an amazing group of lads who've done brilliant things for this football club. We've got to find a way to find that something that got us there before and allowed us to perform so well, so consistently last season as well. So I think it's difficult. It's been challenging for everybody. But yeah, it shows a lot of the spirit and that fight's there. No matter what happens, going forward forever, I'll always love this club and the supporters. That'll never change. And but it was great today to see that they were all with us as well, and that's what we're going to need. Fans just want to see the team do well and win. So that's all. I understand it, and we haven't been consistent with that. We've got to find some consistency now. Our message is consistent and how we try and go. Now I need the players to go and deliver that, and deliver what they've just done over, especially here at Kenilworth Road for a number of weeks now. We're going to do that away from home as well now. Put it on them a little bit.
Yeah, pretty well summed up. Pretty constant with what you said pre-game. Lots of fight, lots of desire, lots of character, lots of everything that we didn't get at Middlesbrough, all put into the one performance. 3 points. Continues the good bank of home performances as well. I think we should reference that. This is a home and away thing, or has been a home and away thing recently. That's 5 acceptable, perfectly comfortable home performances. Again, not necessarily the greatest games to watch in the world.
4 very good performances and 1 very heartening win. That's it. But 5, five matches to suggest that things can turn there at home. Away is a different kettle of fish, admittedly. It's been disastrous the last couple of away days. But, as we said in the previous podcast, maybe you just have to say, well, for now, we'll do the home stuff and we'll get the results there. That's what you've got to do anyway, because that's where you play in front of your people. You've got to make home a fortress, and then what's the old saying is that, win your games at home, get a point away from home, and you're laughing, aren't you? So, well, we're a very long way away from getting points away from home at the moment, but take it for what it is, as the home performance, home result.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if Kenilworth Road's a fortress, at least we can dampen down all that nonsense that we're in a relegation battle, because the home form will keep us up on its own. And after these 2 away games, 3 of the next 4 are at home, and they're all winnable. Swansea, Stoke and Derby. You'd be disappointed if you don't get a nice collection of points from them, as regardless of what situation you're in. They're not Leeds, the Burnleys, the top 6 sides in the division, basically. They're not. None of them are threatening it, and from what I've seen of them, none of them are likely to. So if we can get through these next 2 games with anything, and anything will help, then we've got 3 out of 4 games there. And the away game at Blackburn is a game that, against a side that we've got a pretty good record against in recent times too, that takes us to Christmas, and things could look a heck of a lot rosier ahead of, obviously 2 more away games at Christmas. That'll be tough, and we'll cover those when they come along. But Yeah, I mean, Watford, Sunderland, West Brom, Cardiff, Hull. Okay, it wasn't 5 wins. It was, what was it? 3 wins, a draw and a defeat. 10 points from 5 home games. You keep taking 10 points from each 5 home games, you're going to be comfortable in this division. And then, maybe that'll perk a little bit of away form up as well. Once we've been to these 2, then your next away games are Blackburn, Bristol City, Swansea, QPR. All of a sudden, some not so daunting away games come on the horizon, because Middlesbrough away, you're not likely to get anything, even if you perform how you should do, as we've shown in previous seasons when we have gone there and performed well and lost. Ditto Leeds, ditto Norwich. But those other games, if you perform how you should at least have a foothold and a competitive edge in those games. And then it's one of those, it's like the Championship. Can you outgrind them and come away with a 1-goal victory like we did so often in that Championship? I mean, we didn't look great all that often in that Championship promotion time, but they delivered enough memorable days for us to gloss over the mundane wins. And I don't like that word, and it's probably the wrong word, but I'm sure you know what I mean. For them to just be put to the sort of back burner, then we'll remember the good ones, and there will be good ones this season. But if we can bank a few of these, particularly away from home, it's going to get us to where we want to be. And I still maintain, and I've maintained it right from the start, there's 2 things that I'll take to my deathbed if I need to, that Rob's the man to lead us to where we want to go. And this squad, man for man, is better than the one that got us promoted. And if we can just sort out our consistency away from home, the top 6 aren't that far away, Jimbo. We win. I'm not saying for 1 minute we win on Wednesday night.
No, but points wise, they're not. Yeah.
But if we do win on Wednesday night, we could be 11th. We've just started a game in the bottom 3, and 180 minutes later, we could be 11th in the table. This league is absolutely bonkers, and the 6 most consistent sides will go up or fight it out in the playoffs, and we've still got 30 games to find that consistency to be one of those 6.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the away form, and we'll probably discuss this a bit more in the next podcast. Let's say if you take just the Middlesbrough game as sort of an example of it, and how we were saying that match was crying out for Marvellous de Camber to play in it, and it was clear that he couldn't at the stage. He wasn't quite ready, and that was the only reason. There was nothing like he'd fallen out of favour or anything. That was the reason. So we now know that, and if he was ready, maybe they wouldn't have marauded through the middle of the park so much. And that's sort of the away. That's been the away situation for a while, that they haven't had the midfield options there to really to do battle with the home team that are supposed to be on the front foot. But maybe now that will change. I'm not saying for the Leeds game, because whether Marvellous plays is another matter, isn't it? But going forward in the long run, if Marvellous can stay fit, then that's looking promising. And then obviously you've got Lamine Fanning to come in, and he looks really good on the clips. Most players, you can put a good clips reel together, but that's something to wait and see. But certainly the fans from the club in Stockholm really rate him. So for anything, yeah, that's going to be an exciting one as well.
Certainly is. Yep. Tough week to come, no doubt about that. And the boys are going to need all of us right behind them like we were yesterday. That's for sure. But as I said, once we start going into December, we can make some serious strides in this league. The fixtures in December, they don't look too daunting. And if that home form that we've suddenly found, and, put the odd goal or 2 more on top here and there and make it a little bit more comfortable and things like that, then we can certainly still be doing things this season. I'm absolutely convinced the relegation talk is just, it's nonsense. It's not happening.
No, but you can understand why people were concerned about it. And we're only 3 points above that bottom 3 at the moment, but it's looking a lot healthier. But I can understand that people get really quite worried, because the expectation levels were really high, and then to be that low, there was pieces being written in the national media about what's gone wrong at Luton Town, and that will only sort of heighten the concerns, I think. But wins change these things, don't they? And that's where we are now. We're sort of sitting there going, well, we're 16th now. Like you've just said, you could be top half with a win at Ellen Road. And
Two-game league.
I mean, wouldn't that be great? But yeah.
They should rename this division. Not the second division, the 2-game league division. Because that's what it is. Now look at the teams. I mean, Middlesbrough have gone on and absolutely walloped another team, and all of a sudden they're on the fringes of the playoffs, having the week before we went there, lost at home to Coventry, and it all been doom and gloom. It just changes so much, and that was the real reflection I got from the other night, the awards night, talking to all the other Championship content creators. They're all exactly the same thought. Don't look good. Just pick up points on the times that they're there, add them up at the end, and hope that you've got more than enough of them to do something. And I really do think that is this league. But yeah, really positive result on Saturday. Of course, performances can certainly get better, and they will do as confidence increases. Let's not forget we're also without arguably two of our most influential players in Alfie Doughty and Amari Bell. They make a huge difference to us, particularly Doughty down that left-hand side.
Well, Doughty's leading chance creator, and that showed there weren't that many chances created, were they? Apart from set pieces, but
we did this
that's the thing.
We did this yesterday with a back four, which I'm almost amazed that I'm actually able to say this, with a back four of 4 central defenders.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it's we're having gone throughout the whole of 2024, seemingly scratching around to find anyone who can play centre back. We actually had 4 of them in a back four. Is it unjust of me to say back four, clean sheet?
No, not at all, because that's what we've been calling for. And I was looking at the team sheet, having a conversation with a journo next to me. Is this going to be a back four? Because it looks like it. But
I'd say I thought it was going to be a back five. I thought it was Chong left wing back. When I saw it, Chong left wing back, Burke right wing back. And for the first 5 or 10 minutes or so, it was. But then they realised that the right back was going here, there and everywhere. So they said to Chong, follow him here, there and everywhere, and we'll just shuffle across and make sure no one else gets past. Because there were times where they overloaded that front line so much that we actually had about 7 in a line defending it. We had 4 narrow centre halves, then you had Chong down on one side. Shandon Baptiste was finding himself on the right-hand side of another time, and it was literally Morris was a lot deeper than Eli, and you hope that you could get the ball from Marvel Krause to Morris to Eli to get yourself up the pitch. But that was the tactical, and Rob's been criticised for supposedly not having any tactical nous, which again was nonsense. We've pointed out the amount of times he's rescued points in this division the first time that we were in it under him. He showed a lot of tactical acumen yesterday because they were bloody tough to work out. But we did work them out. And when we did work them out, we're pretty comfortable in the game. And we're not going to be coming up against that fluidity very often. Okay, we might come up against a fluid side on Wednesday, but there ain't many of them in this league. I swear there can't be.
No, they were very good. It's surprising that they're in the bottom of 3, but it's not at the same time because they've missed 3 absolute sitters, and that's probably why everything from up to that point, sticking it in the onion bag, they were very good at. And you have to hold your hands up and give them credit for that, because for as much as I thought it was concerning that the first half of the first half, you've explained the reasons there, but they were very good. And
sometimes you've got to just say they're allowed to be, aren't they?
Absolutely. Sometimes that can happen.
Tell you what, though, if you were a Hull fan, you'd have no air left, would you? You'd have pulled the bloody stuff out by now. All the play, but all the end product of a paper bag, which yesterday would have been soaking wet and not got anywhere. But yeah, a win, positive, much, much, much better than the last game that we reviewed, and everything we asked for we got and more. And hopefully, it gives us a platform to go into these next 2 games, and if we can sneak a win from one of them, well, I'm sure we'd all be absolutely delighted with our week's effort. That's pretty much it for this episode of the podcast, but it's not quite, because we got some correct scores, Jimbo. I've now levelled up with you, 8 points each, but more importantly, Chris McKnight 7164 correctly predicted 1-0 to Luton, and Sam H 568 got in there just before kickoff with 1-0 Luton as well. So well done to them too. And
Dan, who sat here last.
I suppose we've got to mention it, haven't we? And Dan.
He got the right score. Well done, Dan.
He did, yeah. That bastard linesman who put his flag up, otherwise I'd have had 2-0 and we're all good.
Yeah.
There we go. 8-8 though from us two. So competition locked.
Neck and neck.
And we've got a leaderboard.
You have?
We have got a leaderboard which will be on screen right here.
There you go.
Brilliant. So congratulations to all of you that are at the top of the leaderboard. And well, there's still 90 points up for grabs this season, isn't there? So let's see how many can get enough of those. As long as Luton get more of them than what we do, I'm absolutely happy with that. Thanks very much for watching and listening, however it is that you've consumed the podcast. It's that regular reminder, if you want to get all of our content this week, please do subscribe wherever it is that you get this podcast. They're going to come thick and fast at you this week. Then you've got a slight break and they're going to come thick and fast at you again for another 3-game week as we go into December. And also, the more subscribers that we can get, the bigger, the better we can make this podcast for you guys. And
this might turn into a silver or a gold.
Exactly that. Yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic if we can do that. We're closing in on 2,000 subscribers, aren't we? We would love to get there by Christmas. If we can get there quicker, that would be happy days.
Yeah, lots of you great comments saying well done for the awards and everything. Subscribe as well. I saw you. I can see you. Thanks for watching.
He doesn't know where you live, but if he does, he'll come and find you. No, we're not like that. But yeah, really do appreciate the support. Keep your comments coming in. We do look at them, we action them. We can't reply to all of them at the moment because there's just so many of them and we haven't got enough time in the day, both from recording podcasts, getting drunk at Spurs.
And we've been hungover, I'm not going to lie to you.
Getting drunk at Spurs and watching football matches. There ain't a great deal of time to do anything else, but we will reply to as many as we can do. But we appreciate each and every comment that we see. We also appreciate the support of the Barber Club and the lower level in Luton for hosting our studio. Absolutely fantastic support, guys. We really do appreciate it. As we do Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music, and they played in Luton.
They played Luton at the Castle last night. Very, very good.
If Jimbo's looking the worse for wear, it's not from Tottenham. Although it might still be from Tottenham. It was because he'd had a sherbet or two too many last night as well.
Very true. Great gig though. But they've got a new single out, a new EP out, so go and check them out. They'll be on my socials if you follow me. Go and check them out. But there's a link in the show notes as well. But on the subject of Barber Club and the lower level, they've got a show, a live gig happening just across the road from where we're recording this in Hightown on the 30th, Saturday the 30th. So pop down there. There's a couple of Luton bands playing.
We're at Norwich, bit of Luton music, sounds good to me. And also thanks, of course, to Ed Smith Creative for all the designs that you see on set. Just before we go, just a quick mention to my fellow Trust Board member, Paul Stevens, who is taking part in the CEO Sleep Out at Kenilworth Road on Thursday evening. Not exactly the warmest conditions to be doing something like that, so it'd be absolutely fantastic if we can raise lots and lots of money for him. There's a donation link which will be on our website, it's on our socials, and we'll include it in the show notes, I think, Jimbo, won't we? And if you've got a few pennies to spare to donate to him ahead of his doing his sleep out on Thursday, we would really appreciate that, as he would too. So yeah, best of luck with that, Paul, and let's hope you can raise as much money as you possibly can. Until next time, which will be a preview of a clash against the league leaders from Jimbo and myself and this little beautiful thing in front of us. Come on, you atters.
For me, it's the people and the spirit of the people as well.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people.